I've woken up to the first trade of the NBA offseason, and I'm going to start with the New Orleans Pelicans because I think it's a pretty good deal for them, and I'm a bit more invested in the Pelicans. I'm just going to be entirely honest. I'm going to keep it transparent with you. Zion Williamson is that dude, in my opinion, and I want to see him get help, and I don't think this year he had a good enough team. This is a very good start. David Griffin, you're earning my trust back. This is a good start. The trade ends up being Jonas Valanciunas to New Orleans, the number 17 and 51 pick alongside him, and then in the other direction you have Steven Adams, Eric Bledsoe, the 10th pick, the 40th pick, and a protected 2022 first round pick via the Lakers. I'm not sure about those protections, sorry, but we'll find out, I guess. But just off the top, Jonas Valanciunas is an upgrade at the center position. I don't think that can really be doubted. Steven Adams is still a solid player, don't get me wrong. His numbers aren't really a reflection of where he is, and I think in Memphis, he'll fit in. That's why I don't believe the New Orleans Pelicans just absolutely robbed the Grizzlies or did anything crazy. But if you're looking at it from their perspective, it's just straight up a win. It's a straight up win because Valanciunas is a better player than Adams. He's going to fit next to Zion better. He can stretch the floor. He takes a couple of threes a game and shoots at about 35%. And I expect that to probably just up the ante because he's been playing on a team where he had Jaren Jackson Jr. next to him at times. He had other guys next to him that could stretch the floor. Now all of a sudden he's going to be getting out of the way of Zion. He's going to be setting screens in there. Similar to Adams, he does the same things in terms of setting those screens for Zion inside and grabbing those offensive rebounds and just being physical. So you could argue you don't really lose any of those things Adams brings. Maybe Adams is a better defensive player, maybe. But you keep some of those things and then you get more finesse. Valanciunas is not just a better shooter, but he's a better offensive player. He's got more in his repertoire. So I just love that move. He's only signed for the next 1 year on a $14 million deal this year, coming into unrestricted free agency the following season. But I don't think New Orleans are too focused on the future ahead right now. They're focused on winning because there were reports that Zion's camp was unhappy. How true that was, I don't know if the reports were genuinely legitimate, but that his camp is unhappy, I mean, I don't think there's anything far-fetched about that for someone to be putting up 27-7 and to not make the playoffs. I'd probably understand why he's unhappy in his camp as well. And you look at the contracts they got rid of. Steven Adams and Eric Bledsoe are contracted for the next 2 years on a lot of money. A lot more money than they should be making. Straight off the bat, that's what you needed to get rid of. Now you've got a chance to bring back Lonzo Ball. You can improve through free agency. Lonzo Ball, Kyle Lowry, you're going to be able to bring in a major free agent at the point guard spot. All of a sudden, you've got Valanciunas, you've got Zion, Ingram. There were rumors, Ingram in Miami, that I just saw. I've just woken up, sorry, so I don't have everything down pat right now. It is still relatively early, and I was actually not going to check the news and just go back to sleep for another half an hour, but something has happened, which is Nice. Something has happened. So I'm glad I checked the news. Yeah, there were apparently rumors with Ingram in Miami. I don't know how legitimate those were. I saw like Duncan Robinson, Tyler Hero, and a pick or something. Seems, yeah, I don't know. But all we've seen so far, New Orleans bring in Valanciunas. Looking at the Bledsoe side of things as well, his contract it's rough. Honestly, as much as I made fun of him, I don't think he's as bad as you'd probably think if you didn't watch a ton of New Orleans games. He's not as bad. Like, he's not awful. He's not a starting level point guard in my opinion, and he's definitely not worth the money he's making. But I don't think he's absolutely awful. So if you look at Memphis' side of things, they bring in Steven Adams, who's defensively good. As I mentioned, he'll grab those rebounds. He'll do the dirty work next to Jaren Jackson Jr. He's just going to be even more physical than Valanciunas. I don't really know. I guess they're kind of just in the same mold. He's contracted for a couple of extra years. So if you're Memphis and you don't need to worry about free agency as much as the Pelicans, you don't need to worry about re-signing Lonzo Ball. Josh Hart is someone who's a restricted free agent, but he's kind of already made it known that he's not coming back, has he not? I'm pretty sure he has in practically every way possible. But if you're Memphis and you don't have to worry about that as much, you bring in Steven Adams, who's under contract for an extra year. He brings in similar traits. Defensively, he might be a little bit of a boost. Offensively, he doesn't bring quite the same, but you've got Jaren Jackson Jr., who can stretch the floor, who's versatile, and you just want some physical guy next to him and Ja, and Steven Adams is a good guy for that. And Eric Bledsoe, similar kind of mold. I don't know if they're going to keep him in terms of just a physical point guard. His defense has fallen off a cliff this year, but maybe it'll get back to a better standard in Memphis. Maybe he just wasn't ready to work under Stan Van Gundy, which we've seen a lot of players have that same issue. Maybe under Taylor Jenkins, things will change. He can still give you like 12 to 15 points and shoot a couple of threes. It's a reason that I thought this was a good deal for New Orleans, because those guys are on huge contracts and not exactly amazing players. Valanciunas is a clear upgrade, and you've got cap space to make another clear upgrade in Lonzo Ball or in Kyle Lowry or in one of those guys. Just a huge win for New Orleans. But Memphis also got the 10th overall pick. So I don't mind that for them. They move up in the draft. They're probably going to take a swing on someone with a little bit more upside. They've brought in a lot of guys that are just steady role players recently. You bring in Desmond Bane. Brandon Clark fell out of the rotation, but he still fits that mold. Xavier Tillman. D'Anthony Melton was undrafted, but you've got a lot of those guys that fit that same kind of mold where you're going to know they can play 20 minutes a night and be productive, be good, but they don't exactly have that ceiling. So I believe they'll be looking for someone with a little bit more ceiling with the 10th overall pick. All right, well, I've got some things to note. As with every trade, whenever there's a trade, there's always a journalist coming out with a follow-up story, something of that note. And Kevin O'Connor reports that the Grizzlies are looking to move up in the draft. Yeah, I probably should have done this before the start of the video, but I did just wake up and then I just turned the camera on and I was like, let's just talk about this trade because I'm happy from the Pelicans side of things. But the Grizzlies are looking up to move in the draft, look for a Kuminga, a Buchnight, someone of that category. And that doesn't surprise me. I mentioned it before, but they're a team that has two guys with star potential. Jaren Jackson Jr., it's a little bit iffy now. He definitely has the potential, but whether he'll deliver on that, we don't know yet. So they're just wanting to try and get that guy because Desmond Bane, all of those guys, solid role players. The ceiling is not there. You need another guy if you're going to be an NBA champion at some point in the future. And they're probably looking to make this swing now and through the draft because they're not going to get another chance at a top 5 pick from playing at that level, I don't believe. Once you have Ja Morant, Steven Adams is still competitive, Jaren Jackson Jr., once you have all of these guys and all of those solid role players, you're not just getting another chance at getting a top 5 lottery pick unless you get really lucky. That's kind of the only way you do it. And then from the Pelicans' perspective, apparently Keith Smith says, the legend himself, I've got the Pelicans able to create $36.5 million in cap space after this trade. That's renouncing all of their free agents and waiving the man himself, Wenyen Gabriel, who was actually solid at the end of the season. But when you've got Jackson Hayes, you waive Wenyen Gabriel if it means bringing in a Kyle Lowry. At the end of the day, that's what it says. If they keep cap holds for Josh Hart and Dede, the Pelicans can create $26.5 million in cap space. I've just seen reports of Kyle Lowry looking for about $30 million. I'm pretty sure Kyle Lowry is number one on their board. Whether Pelicans fans want Lonzo or not, I don't think that matters. I heard it from Kevin O'Connor. I've seen multiple reports. That they're not that interested in keeping Lonzo Ball. At least that's what I've seen. I don't know how true that is. There's always reports going out of every kind of nature. How true anything is, we don't exactly know. But I like Kyle Lowry on the Pelicans, to be honest. I saw him apparently looking for 3 years, $30 million each. Do I like him that much on the Pelicans? I think he's got 2 more years at least at a good standard. If you saw this year and you saw last year in the playoffs, is there anything to suggest he's going to fall off a cliff? I don't think there is. We've seen nothing yet to suggest he's going to fall off a cliff. He's never relied on his athleticism. He's always relied on his intelligence, his shooting, his finesse. I guess he puts his body on the line on the defensive end of the floor, and he has lost a step defensively. But for the most part, he's still the guy who's putting up 17 and 7 a game on 40% from 3, can move off the ball, can catch and shoot, can play make, is a leader. Which is what's going to be the separator. All of a sudden, if you can manage to get in Kyle Lowry through free agency, Nickeil Alexander-Walker is someone I really like. I think he's got a lot of potential. You get someone in the draft with the 17th overall pick, Brandon Ingram, Zion Williamson, Jonas Valanciunas, Willie Green hopefully can deliver on the promises that everyone has said about him as a coach in terms of being ready-made, according to Chris Paul, according to those guys. I'm starting to like what the Pelicans are shaping up to be. I'm really starting to like what the Pelicans are shaping up to be. So I'm excited for what other moves they can make. But this is a good start, David Griffin. You are earning back my trust.